turnout went up slightly after we introduced photo ID. So they've run out of arguments. So what's left? Oh, well, let's just call the main proponent of that law in Kansas racist. And the term racist has been overused so much in Kansas that now when you see real racism, it's almost like the term has been devalued. And when there really is a racist there, you can say that guy's a racist, and they'll say, yeah, just like everybody else has been called a racist in the last.
Well, what's an example of in recent years of an event where you thought was real racism?
The guy in Johnson County who shot some individuals outside of the Jewish community center. I mean, there it was religious bigotry, but ethnic religious bigotry. That guy really was a true bigot, but the terms have been overused and misused against people. Look at nowadays. If you are opposing Obama's policies vigorously, you're often termed a racist, and that's just ridiculous. And so I think they devalue the term by overusing the term.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to talk about it, because it's not the easiest subject to broach, especially when both you and
and it's just so sad that the term is being used just to describe someone who's a conservative, and because the Obama administration has decided that they're going to go after photo ID on the implausible grounds that photo ID is a racist policy.
Do you think that's what it is? It's just kind of like the way that so there might be some people on the right who call their liberal opponent a communist as a shortcut.
Right.
Then there's people on the left who call their conservative opponent a racist. It's just.
I think so, unfortunately, and I think part of it is there are a number of reasons for it, but the politics of today have gotten very intense, and the use of terms that are inaccurate to describe people has gotten more common. It's a real problem, and that term when I'm called a racist, that especially the first time that happened in some political contest, I remember when it was in 2004 when I was running against Dennis Moore. And they made this ridiculous argument. The argument was, and he ran TV commercials, and the TV commercial said, Kris Kobach has connections or has received support from groups with affiliations with white supremacists. That was the TV commercial, and it had me in grainy black and white.
And Gene Shonov made that same comment.
They try to recycle it every time, but then if you read the footnote, or you see press release from the Kansas Democrat Party. Well, here was the 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon that they had. So my campaign in 2004 received a contribution from the Immigration Reform PAC, which had contributed to numerous members of Congress. And the Immigration Reform PAC had on its board someone who had been at the Federation for American Immigration Reform. The Federation for American Immigration Reform received a contribution or a grant in 1984 from the Pioneer Fund, which has given grants to universities and all sorts of organizations. And the Pioneer Fund was started in the 1920s by a textile magnate who believed in eugenics. So therefore, through 6 degrees of separation, I'm somehow connected to the beliefs of some long dead textile magnate who believed in eugenics. It was just such an absurd argument that by that argument, then all of these universities that had received Pioneer Fund grants were racist universities. All of these members of Congress who'd received contributions from this PAC were racist members of Congress. It was just absurd, but anyway, it really hurt. That was the first time in my political career that I've been called a racist, as someone who is not in any way racist, and as a Christian who respects each human being as equal in the eyes of God. It hurt me to have people say that untrue thing about me. That said, the use of that term by the left has become so frequent, and now they just throw it around against anybody. Oh, those Tea Party people, they're a bunch of racists. The people suing the Obama administration on the Obamacare issue, that's a bunch of racists. Now it doesn't bother me because it's just so ridiculous how often they use it and how improperly they use the term.
Do you think there's been a ratcheting up of the rhetoric on both sides? I mean,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Obama in particular, not so much. Well, in Kansas a little bit, but Obama in particular has he has done some things that can fairly be described as socialist. Not everything, but a few things that kind of look socialist in orientation. And so then there's the tendency to say, well, he's a socialist president. Well, then once you start calling someone a socialist, you may as well call him a communist because there's only one degree of ideological division between those two.
And then why don't you go for the full thing and call him a Stalinist?
Yeah, he's a Stalinist or a Bolshevik. Yeah, I think the rhetoric has been wrapped up, but there's a difference. If you're calling someone, a hard, Bernie Sanders is a socialist by himself.
He'll be the first to tell you.
If you call someone on the far left end of the Democrat spectrum, the Democratic Party spectrum, a socialist, you're exaggerating their ideological position. That's different from hurling a personal insult at someone and calling them a racist. That's personal. That's going after their motivations and their heart. I think one is a lot worse than the other.